This is Ken Harbaugh with the Real Mind Network. Here is what it looks like when a nation pushes back, when people confront authoritarian power and succeed. A major political shift has just taken place. Peter Magyar has secured a landslide victory in Hungary. He achieved a supermajority in the election. This ends Viktor Orban's 16-year hold on power. Crowds filled the streets across Hungary to celebrate. This moment reaches far beyond Hungary itself. For years, Orban served as a model example. He represented the global authoritarian right. He was not only aligned with MAGA, he became the framework others followed. Steve Bannon described him as a hero. Tucker Carlson broadcast from Budapest. Donald Trump hosted Orban at Mar-a-Lago. Just last week, G. de Vance traveled to Budapest. He appeared alongside Orban days before voting. It was a final attempt to preserve power, but that effort did not succeed. What Orban created was deeply structured. A controlled media environment was established. The judiciary was shaped for political use. Nationalism was wrapped in religious identity. All of it was firmly rejected by voters. Turnout reached nearly 80%. Nationwide, more than 3 million citizens made a decision. They looked at years of corruption and control. They chose to say that it was enough. The consequences now extend across Europe. European Union aid to Ukraine is moving again. Hungary's opposition to Ukraine is ending. NATO no longer faces internal obstruction, and Vladimir Putin loses a key ally. But this also carries a lesson for America. The MAGA movement closely studied Orban's methods. They observed his use of courts and media. They examined how elections were influenced. And they will now study his defeat. They will adjust their approach accordingly. Midterm elections are approaching in the United States. Trump and his allies remain highly disciplined. They learn from setbacks and apply those lessons. Do not assume outcomes will repeat themselves. The situation is now becoming more complex. Threats to elections will continue to evolve. Pressure on the press will also change. Judicial independence may face new challenges. Remain aware and stay organized. Consider what these scenes truly represent. Today, these faces are Hungarian, but this could reflect future moments elsewhere. These are citizens defending their country. They chose to act rather than accept control. A similar moment may come in America, a time when Trumpism is fully rejected, when its influence is pushed into history. When the authoritarian model is dismantled, that day may arrive sooner than expected. Scenes like this could appear across the U.S. Flags will represent a different nation. Today, I am joined by an expert voice. She has studied these movements for years. She tracks how they operate globally. She examines funding and coordination methods. Olga Lotman is a senior fellow at SIPA. She researches organized crime networks. She focuses on Kremlin influence operations. She studies how systems are infiltrated. Her work connects financial and ideological networks. She has examined links to far-right groups. These networks supported Orban's system. They also exist within American politics. She provides a clear understanding of these dynamics. She explains how authoritarian control develops and what is required to defeat it. Here is my conversation with Olga Lotman. Olga Lotman, thank you for joining us. Why is this Hungarian election so important? Hungary has around 10 million people. Its economy ranks in the middle within Europe. Defense spending is also relatively average, yet something significant has occurred here. There was a visible release of public emotion. Frustration and hope appeared simultaneously. Magyar reportedly lacked media access. He had limited presence in major cities. Despite this, his campaign succeeded. Why does this outcome matter so much? It strongly echoes events from 1989. It recalls the end of Soviet control. People experienced freedom for the first time. That same feeling is now visible again. Orban controlled the country for 16 years. Many believed removing him was impossible, but unity changed the situation. Political parties stepped aside strategically. They supported the strongest challenger. The focus was not on individual power. It was about removing Orban from office. That decision proved effective. The public response was overwhelming. Energy and optimism spread nationwide. This moment matters beyond Hungary. It is relevant across Europe and the US. It applies wherever authoritarian trends appear. One key factor was Orban's position. He acted as a central connection point. He linked Kremlin operations with far-right groups. There was no coincidence in his actions. He frequently met with Trump during elections. Investigations showed similar patterns elsewhere. In Slovakia, similar strategies were used. Orban acted as an intermediary figure. He connected Russia with political campaigns. These methods influenced election outcomes. This explains his broader significance. He was central to a larger network. He connected movements across countries. Let's consider the extent of his control. He did not simply adjust the system. He fundamentally reshaped institutions. He rewrote the Constitution. He gained control over universities. He influenced media and public messaging. He empowered select economic elites. He expanded control across society. This created a clear blueprint. Other leaders began to follow it. In the United States, similar patterns appeared. Attacks on universities became more common. This reflects a shared strategy. There were also direct influences. MAGA figures visited Hungary frequently. They studied Orban's approach closely. He played a major ideological role. He shaped the direction of the movement. Figures like Tucker Carlson had connections. Steve Bannon also engaged with him. Events were organized in Hungary. Influencers traveled back and forth. He demonstrated how to consolidate control, how to dominate key institutions. Now a brief update. A film screening will take place in Washington, D.C. It is scheduled for April 21st and 23rd. The event is open to the public. Registration is required due to limited space. Now returning to the discussion, G.D. Vance's involvement surprised some observers, but his past actions are well documented. He opposed aid to Ukraine in the Senate. He worked to delay support packages. These efforts were coordinated through networks. The Heritage Foundation played a role. Its direction shifted in recent years. It became more aligned with pro-Kremlin views. Orban's influence was part of that shift. His representatives engaged with the organization. They coordinated events and discussions. They connected with U.S. political figures. These efforts aimed to block Ukraine aid, and at times they were effective. G.D. Vance played a key role in this process. His actions aligned with those objectives. His appearance in Hungary followed that pattern. It reflected ongoing coordination. Interestingly, his involvement may have backfired. Poll numbers shifted after his visit. This raises an important question. Do these strategies still work effectively? There is growing evidence they do not. Now, regarding external influence in the election, there were coordinated efforts from multiple sides. Russia conducted information campaigns. Online platforms were heavily used. Messaging was pushed through many accounts. Narratives were shaped and amplified. Reports also mention on the ground. Operations agents were reportedly deployed in advance. These actions formed a combined strategy. Information and direct influence were used together. Public reaction in Hungary was strong. Crowds openly rejected foreign interference. Chants called for Russian presence to end. This response was direct and visible. It reflects historical memory. Hungarians remember past control by Moscow. That awareness may have influenced this outcome. There were also attempts to influence voters. Material incentives were reportedly offered. This reflects familiar tactics used elsewhere. Additionally, concerns were raised about U.S. involvement. There were claims of coordinated efforts. These actions aimed to support Orban, but ultimately they did not succeed. The broader picture is becoming clearer. There are connections between multiple actors. Shared goals appear across different movements. However, there are signs of weakening influence. Public perception is shifting in some regions. This outcome suggests a turning point. That was part of my discussion with Olga Lotman. For the complete interview, visit the provided link. Thank you for watching. If you value independent media, consider supporting it. Membership options provide additional content. You can also share access with others. Continued support helps this work grow.